dressing just because it's dirt cheap myself. It's 2 maxi pads because those are designed to absorb blood, and then 2 sterile 4x4 gauze, and then a roller gauze to hold it in place. So basically you have any sort of bleeding or cut, and you unwrap it obviously. You apply direct pressure because like we were talking about, your body has an amazing way to compensate. And so that direct pressure will take care of almost, I'd say 70 or 80% of even major bleeds. Just hold direct pressure as best you can. Hold it in place in case you need to do other things. And then you just keep moving, and then I mean basically it's pretty simple things. I mean, do you agree with some of your experience that it's fairly basic knowledge? Let me see, since I'm worried about our time limit, so I was going to go through what else. The other thing I was going to talk about is prevention, and it looks like you guys did a pretty good job, keeping the acetylene torches chained to the wall and keeping, basically preventing an injury is far easier than, basically like the safety. I saw that Martian had the helmet and the safety glasses. That effort is so much better than to not have them and get hit in the eye. Taking care of an eye injury is far more difficult than just having a close call or having to get a scratch a piece of safety glasses. This is a really versatile piece of equipment. It's called a SAM splint. You can use that on any part of the body. So yeah, let's make a C collar. That's a good example. Yeah. So if you have a cervical injury, you could basically wrap it around, and you don't have to have all the specialized equipment. You don't have to carry 10 pieces of gear. It's just a reminder for the person not to move their neck any extra. And then that'll stabilize. That'll be a reminder to not look over like this. And if you have a cervical injury, the first vertebrae of your neck. What else do I want to talk about? Talk a little bit about medical kits, and I know I'm really rushing because I'm worried about my time because I know there's going to be an ambulance come down that road in a minute. The other thing is scene safety. That's actually the most important thing, because let's say somebody cuts themselves on a saw. It wouldn't do any good at all to run in there while the saw is still running and potentially hurt yourself. Whereas if you could even pull the plug on it, power it down in some way, and really kind of be cognizant of what some of the hazards are, so that you don't go walking in and create a second patient. Because one patient's fine on the ambulance, but it's annoying having having to work on 2 people at the exact same time. And we do it, we often do it with car wrecks and things, but it's not our first choice. Let's see, I was going to do just some little improvised things. We were talking about the bleeding if you couldn't control it with direct pressure. This is a triangular bandage. I don't know where the medical kit is. Is it in front of me? Anyway, it has these little, it's basically a cloth. I think it's 32 inches by 32 inches. But this can be anything from a tourniquet. We could wrap it around an arm. Let's say if I had bleeding here. And then you could use, this is just 8 tongue depressors taped together, and you could use a stick or a pen just as easily. You wrap that until the bleeding stops. Or my favorite, I was out in South Carolina with my girlfriend, and she fell and broke her arm. And so I carry this in every vehicle. So I had it in my sister's vehicle. And Chris, can I get you, I was just going to do a sling and swap real quick. It's just a triangular bandage. And what you're trying to do is basically immobilize the injury above and below. I'm going to tie it. Yeah, kind of tight. And so basically what we've done is, instead of his arm holding that weight of his injured arm, then he can kind of relax it a little bit. And we often find he'll self-splint. Your body knows what to do. So if he broke his arm, his first reaction would be to hold it and make it where it's not going to get any worse. But if we do this sling and then we'd wrap another, like this, we'd wrap this around here so it couldn't get any worse. Does that feel like it's tight? Yeah. So it's holding the distal weight. So even with a break here, it's not going to get any worse. I had a neighbor, used to live 19 miles from here. He fell and broke his arm. We did this almost immediately. The doctor down at Children's Mercy said if we had not, the bones were going to stick out because he had broken both the radius and the ulna. And so we stabilized just almost immediately. You do need to make sure that you're not so tight that he doesn't have a pulse, because that would be, you're going to have nerve damage and things like that. But basically, just basic things to stabilize people is hugely important. And it's who has some questions?
Do you recommend one of the shock thing for stock hearts?
Yeah, defibrillator. Yeah, with you guys being, do any of you guys have heart conditions? Any atrial fibrillation or? So with a younger crowd like this, I wouldn't worry about it as much. But for $600 or $800, you can get a defibrillator. That's mainly it. Basically just stops the heart, and then you hope that it restarts in a normal rhythm. Ventricular tachycardia and ventricular fibrillation is the 2 rhythms that it treats. And those are primarily in an older population. Although it could happen. People could be struck by lightning. They could be electrocuted, drowned. Some of those things you could restart a heart.
Yeah, is it pretty safe for a sucker to use? Or?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
really.
yeah,
Yeah.
no training whatsoever. It's honestly it has voice prompts.
It tells you
Yeah, it
exactly.
tells you
Yeah, it has a
exactly what to
sticker. It has the picture of where to put the sticker.
That's $1,000, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen them as cheap as $500 for refurbished.
But they do a lot more than CPR and any kind of like a case where your heart stops.
Yeah, yeah, it's any electrocution or
Should invest in that.
yeah. I mean it's
Open source that.
absolutely. So what other questions for burns? I was just thinking about kitchens. Burns, basically you want to stop the burning process. That's as simple as just putting underwater. I mean, you're just flushing it with water. And then
Lukewarm?
any clean, basically, even though this isn't totally clean, this is cleaner than the outside, yeah, dirt or things. You could just put this over. Like we had a burn, a guy had put some diesel fuel on some sort of accelerant on a fire.
What temperature water should you put it
Oh,
on?
it's just lukewarm water, not too cold, because you do worry with big burn. We had a guy with 85% burn surface area, 3rd degree burn, and I gotta go. And that could have caused hypothermia. But I'll